Would you say that is the linchpin between a creator becoming successful and not?
Oh, like 100%. Because that's the boring, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'll be honest. That's the boring side no one wants to do.
Hi, Kobe. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You've traveled all around the world, documenting it for your followers on social media. But this time we want to hear about your creator journey. How and why did you become a creator?
I feel like as a kid, most people are always creating. As a young kid, I was always creative. I always loved it. But then as an adult, I was always afraid to kind of like take that leap, take that step, because I didn't know like where to start. And then finally, I moved here to the UK, graduated, and then I was like, okay, what am I doing with my life? My dad gave me two options. He was like, look, you can come back or you can stay and figure it out. So I stayed here, figured it out, did a lot of modeling, acting, like just figured it out. And then I realized I love just being in front of the camera. I was always in love with those like Facebook Reels, watching the Man on the Street interviews. And I just replicated it one day. I got a cheap little iPhone 11 and like an Amazon mic, and I started yapping to people, and I fell in love with it. I started talking to different people, different cultures, and it made me realize there was like so much more to this world than just the US. And because of that, I started documenting my own experiences, like as a fish out of water, as like an American in the UK, going to grocery stores, interviewing people, stuff like that.
When you first started creating street interview content, what was the reaction like and how did it change over time?
One of the coolest and also, I gotta be honest, the weirdest things is having people come up to you, especially on a night out or just like in a casual situation, and they'll dap me up like, oh my gosh, like, how are you? I'm like, hey. Then they all watch your content. The underlying thing is like, it feels so good knowing that someone likes your art. It feels really, really good. Because you may get 30,000 views on a reel or 50,000, but that one person in real life means like 10 times more than the thousands of views you get. So I was line biking in Brixton, and I got stopped by this like middle-aged dude, and he said so passionately that he really loves my content. And more importantly, he was like, look, I don't let my kids watch any other Facebook Reels or accounts besides yours. I guess this is entertaining, but also they learn something as well. So it's like a Miss Rachel, but UK black guy version. and I think at that day, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was like, man, like, am I doing well? Is my stuff good? And him doing that was the biggest sign ever. And shout out to you, my man.
What was it like transitioning to travel and culture content? And how did it feel seeing it resonate between UK and US audiences and even beyond that?
I grew up watching these like boring documentaries with my dad on like the History Channel. And I was like, I low-key loved that, but I kind of wanted to do that in like a more modern, entertaining way. So I kind of watched Anthony Bourdain, just watched a bunch of travel people. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. But obviously I knew there needed to be like a jump from street interviews to there. So I first started just, I would travel to a random country in like Austria and just talk about the culture, the people, and then more importantly, like the food. And now I'm starting to do it like upscale a little bit where I just did a documentary in Curacao. I covered them participating in the World Cup, a country of 150,000 people. And it was like the coolest experience ever. Me and my team went out there and it was like the greatest thing ever.
I'm curious, when you did make the transitional, the pivot, if you thought about the actual format of how you're delivering things, like the, beginning, middle, end, or some sort. Did you have a formula going into it?
Funny enough, I didn't. Like, I was like a duck treading on water. I was just like, didn't know what I was doing. But the more I did it, the more I got used to it. So now, like, every time I film, I have a rough script. I'm like, okay, the intro, what's the storyline going to be? I recently did a TV show with the BBC that's come out in September, and working with them and like the team I was with, they taught me like everything on how to like properly make videos. So I learned a lot from them. And I took that to my own personal journey on Facebook and creating. I think the biggest thing is when you're creating content, everyone focuses on the content. They're like, okay, I got to be present. I got to be a big personality, XYZ. But no one wants to focus on like the admin side of things, which is your Facebook analytics. What time you post matters. When you're first posting a video, making sure that I respond to all the comments at least the first 24 hours because it boosts engagement. There's a tab, which I love, called the community tab. And I can see who's responding to which video, which one has a better time retention. So it's like mixing, okay, I'm doing content, I got that locked down, but now let me make sure I'm understanding the back end. So it's more of like the business side of things, which is, in my opinion, just as important as making the content.
Would you say, like very honestly, that is the linchpin between a creator becoming successful and not?
Oh, like 100%. Because that's the boring, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'll be honest, that's the boring side no one wants to do. And it's the most like underrated side that it like needs to happen, because your content's not for you, your content's for your audience. And if you don't understand your audience, your demographics of what they want to see, then it's not going to go anywhere.
What opportunities have opened up for you through being a creator?
I think the main thing that I love is the people I meet. But it's not just like, oh, I met this person who's famous or something like that. I think it's the real interactions of like a random guy and his kid at a basketball game in Serbia, or some guy in Europe from Armenia. I think it's meeting so many different people. That's, to me, is one of the most rewarding things, just getting to meet people, but real people from different places I would have never met if I would have stayed back home in the US. It almost seems so like surreal, or like, I don't want to say unfair, but it seems like, I don't know, I'm cheating the system. I get to create reels for a living and I love it. Now I carry a little bit of pride when I say what I do for my job. Because at first I'll be kind of like sheepish, like my dad's friends are all like high up military ranking dudes, be like, oh son, what do you do for your job? And I'm like, I make reels. And then they cut a little snicker. After 3 years, I'm feeling myself a little confident. I tell them, and I feel proud. I don't care like what you think of it. I love doing it.
It's been so great to talk to you, Kobe. Thank you so much for sharing your creator journey.
Thanks for having me.